When I was a little girl, my grandmother would start her day at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee. And when I would wake up, I would join her at that table. And we would talk, we would laugh, and I would listen and I would learn. Sometimes she would talk to her girlfriends and I would soak it all in. They talked about life, they talked about love, but mostly she talked about being ferociously her, being her authentic self in a world that didn't always accept who she was, how she was, or that she was. But she didn't let that stop her. She made shift happen anyway. My granny's not with us anymore, but that doesn't mean the laughing and the learning has to stop. Join me, ladies and gentlemen, at my kitchen table, and let's keep talking shift.
You're listening to Talking Shift, the podcast, with your host, Marissa Q. Payne. Talking Shift is a trademarked production of Marissa Q. Payne International, your source for coaching and consulting when you need a major shift in life or leadership.
Have bag, will travel.
For more information, visit marissaqpayne.com.
Get you some good friends when you're going through your shift. That's the message here.
For now, listen, learn, and laugh with your host, Marissa Q. Payne.
Emphasis on at the moment. Welcome to the first episode of Talking Shift podcast. I am your host, Marissa Q. Payne. Sometimes I come to you in the strength of my awesome gift as a life and leadership coach. Other times I come to you in the vulnerability of my journey as a regular old woman. I think today I will probably be a regular old woman. This is an introductory series. I promised that I would give you an opportunity to get to know me and also to get to know the vibe of the podcast. And rather than just talking on and on and on myself, I thought it would be really neat to bring in some folks who know me and that you could get to know me through the eyes of some of the people that know me best. And in full transparency, when you are nervous and embarking upon a new shift, I always say, don't do it alone, right? When you're making shift happen, bring your people with you. And so, as I am embarking upon this new journey of podcasting, flying solo, I'm bringing my people with me. And so, today, for my very first guest, I have brought along someone who I would say knows me pretty well. Bridgett Deana is a financial services professional. She is a mother. If you have heard me talk about my niece, if you haven't, you will. TT Baby is we'll call her for now. I'm crazy about her. She's the only niece that I have. If you've ever seen me and my swag and my wardrobe and my flair, I was dressed by our guest today. She's my stylist. She's a great friend, confidant, and she is my baby sister. Please welcome to the podcast, Bridgett Deana. Hi, sister.
Hello. Insert the applause here. This is where you insert the applause for me.
Welcome to the first episode of Talking Shift the podcast.
Well, thank you.
I'm
You
doing
for
it by
thinking that I was
myself.
worthy enough to be on it, number one, and then two, your first episode. Okay, you rolling the dice now. You don't know what will come out of this hole in my face.
You're so right. That's why I said, I was like, I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea, but we're out here now. So
Here we are.
So thank you for saying yes, because and I wanted to, like break you in easy and allow you to start talking about me. However, comma, for the record, you have a little bit of stage fright. So the fact that you said yes is also pretty impressive, yes?
It is. It is. Well, I'm not so sure that I said yes. It was more like, okay, I'll do it.
I know, and that's the thing that we talked about, that I've talked about, that, like, there are some shifts that are planned and then some shifts that are unplanned. So this is just like one of those things that it's like, "Okay, I just gotta do it," right?
And we doing it.
Because it's me. We doing it. Okay. So, like I said, I'll break you in easy. So before we talk about your big shifts, let's start with what you know about me. So helping our audience kind of get to know Marissa Q. Payne a little bit. And you have known me, obviously, probably of all of our introductory series guests, you've probably known me the longest, because we grew up together. And so you've seen me through a lot of shifts, I guess, over the course
I
of a
have. I
lifetime.
have.
So, what shift stands out to you when you think about Marissa Q. Payne and the evolution of her, and why?
Is there one shift or two or three? Like, how many do I get? Do I only get one? Because then there is a current shift, and then there's also a past shift. And I think they're
Okay,
both
this is
relative
awkward.
and important to who you are.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm like, the question was, what shift?
Oh, it was
Singular.
singular. Yeah. So,
But I'm curious now. I'm like, "Oh, okay, it's getting juicy already." I'm scared, but I'm like,
so I would say there are two shifts that stand out the most to me. The first one would be you as an entrepreneur. And when you
Okay.
decided to do that or this, like, eons ago, like
Uh-huh.
decade plus ago, before I won't say everybody, but before I myself even had an entrepreneurial mind, uh, you
Uh-huh.
was like on it in a box. And so that
Mm.
for me was a
Aw.
very present or a clear shift, because you worked for other people prior to that shift. But that was one of the shifts that I think made me recognize, okay, because I've always felt like she's very, very, very book smart. I'm not so sure if she has a lot of common sense with some of her decisions, but book smart, business smart, handling business, like making things happen, like you all the way. And you be
Are you disrespecting me on my own podcast?
I promise that's not the intention. But you want me to kill your strength. I already told you, you already know I'm gonna say what it is. So that is one shift. You becoming an entrepreneur, a boss, like handling business and like being able to work for yourself a very, 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 very long time ago when I was much younger, and still being
Mhm.
able to stand in that role is a major shift that I think defines you. I think was the question, what defines you. The second shift would be,
Wow.
um,
Okay, hold
wow.
on, hold
Okay,
on,
sorry.
hold on.
Sorry.
We gotta sit with that for a minute. We gotta sit with that for a minute. I need to like take that in for a second because I actually would not have expected. I wouldn't have expected you to say that. And I think what's funny or what stands out to me about what you said is like you said before, like before it was a thing, or like before people were doing it, like and that feels so interesting to me because I do think it's fairly common now, for people. It's almost like
Trendy.
it's, oh, the right word. Took it right out of my mouth. It's trendy to be in business and to have a side hustle or to, that kind of thing. But that you're right, that was not the case when I started my business. And it's been in 2012 was when I started the real business. Now, in full transparency, I did some. multi-level marketing things. And I tried a few times before I got to the real time, right, in 2012. But 2012 was when it was for real, for real. And at that time, it was so scary.
I'm sure. I'm
And
sure.
it was embarrassing almost because especially coming from an actual career where I was an executive director of a nonprofit, like I had reached the pinnacle of my career and people really viewed it negatively. It's like, oh, you're unemployed, but you're saying you have a business.
Mhm.
So that's actually so now being on this side, it's like, wow, to see that you are saying, you know, oh, like you've been in this game and, stuck to it and like, no, you're a real boss. I'm like, oh, thank
But
you.
yeah, that makes
That's
up for
pretty
what I
cool.
said about the common sense thing. So now we good. We
I don't
good.
know if that's true. I don't know if that's true or not, but whatever.
Okay, fair enough.
Um, so one of the other questions I often ask is like, what surprised you about? No, let me. I was gonna say, what surprised you about the shift? So I'll ask that. What surprised you most about that shift?
Um, hmm. Maybe because that you were able to do it with 3 kids.
Mm,
Like, I think that you were because you raised 3 kids. You didn't do it alone. Obviously, I won't say that, but just having 2 kids. I'm sorry, 3 kids, and being able to stick with it through their upbringing
mhm.
surprised me that you were able to stick with that.
Yeah, and of course, you having one
That
kid
that that's why it
that
surprised me. 'Cause I'm be struggling with one.
that you just act like it's just oh, and no disrespect, but I
Listen,
mean.
I'm a old mama for one. What society would deem as an older mama. Listen, I tip my hat. You had 3, I got 1. I don't know how you did it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. Okay. Good stuff. Okay. What was the second shift? I'm nervous.
The second one, I'm not so sure that you really want to get into this one. I mean, it's not a secret. I know that you've shared it, but that you're currently going through a divorce
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
have been separated for about a year now, but you
Yes.
filed um, in the winter.
Mhm.
So that you're in the thick of a divorce would be the most apparent uh, shift to
And why
me.
is that
But
shift?
what's interesting about it though, for me,
Uh-huh.
is that it's almost like a coming to.
Okay.
Like it's almost like you're finding who you are
Uh-huh.
outside of mom wife.
Ooh.
Because for the most part, you've been mom wife your entire adulthood.
Facts. Mhm.
And so now it's like, wait, I'm a whole person. Like I'm a whole different being. So seeing the divorce shift um, is quite interesting, I'll say. Quite
Like
interesting.
what does that mean? Keep it real with the people.
It's interesting because in a sense, honestly, I kind of feel like you miss your youth.
Oh.
So we are 6 years apart. World, can I say words? Who we talking to? The world.
Yes, ma'am. We're
So we're
going
six
global.
years
Let's speak it.
apart. So my sister had her first child when you were what, 18, 19?
19. Yes.
19, got married shortly thereafter, and then has been a mom and a wife from the age of 18 all the way up until 2022.
Yeah, 27 years.
So when she was having kids and getting married and things like that, I was in my 20s and I was outside. Okay. I've been in and out of relationships. I was a serial dater at one point. So it's so I got to do a lot. I got to go to school. Like I got to get up. Like you want to go out of town next weekend? Yeah, let's do it. Like,
Oh
and
my
I
gosh.
feel like now that our roles have reversed,
Come on, shift. Yes.
and so some of the interests or things or conversations that private conversations that we have, I'm like, girl, been there, done that. Okay, you're gonna see. That's kind of my thing and so I just feel like you miss your youth and being mom and wife, and now you're finding yourself outside of those roles.
You trying to say I'm a serial dater, or you trying to say I'm outside? Like, what you trying to say?
Um, yeah, I'm gonna exercise my right to remain silent. I'm gonna definitely exercise my right to remain silent right there. That's
But I mean, I will say, I think what you're saying is true. Not, I mean, true to an extent. Like I'm working remotely now from a warm climate because I don't like the cold, and I have bag will travel. I will pick up and go in a second, and I love right this life. My children are all adults. I'm empty nest. Like I don't have anything holding me back. So you just never know, what I might do or where I might do it on any given day. I mean, I think to that extent, it definitely is a new season. And I didn't necessarily get my 20s to explore and, do a lot of those things. And, I'm firstborn, I'm the oldest sibling. And so, yes, I had a very responsible life for a very long time. And so I guess that is why that particular shift surprises you. And I think to some extent that, a lot of people were surprised to hear, that I was divorcing. And I think that, there wasn't like anything major, no tabloid news or anything necessarily to report outside of what you just talked about. We were very young, and when we got married, didn't necessarily really know ourselves. We did the best that we could growing up together, and as we evolved, and once we kind of completed the child rearing process, got to a stage where that chapter of our lives, I think that our purpose together was really complete, and we were really just going in different directions, and weren't necessarily making each other happy, and couldn't be harmonious or peaceful together anymore, which was like a direct conflict about everything that I represent. And so it was better for us to go ahead and call it complete, call that chapter complete, than to continue. And in the strife that we were in. So yeah, big shift.
big shift. And what I will say is
Yeah.
that the will to be able to pick up and go and only worry about you, to
Hmm.
the opportunity to live alone and only worry about you. If you want to eat some chips and a soda for dinner and that be that, listen, the will to just be responsible for yourself is a very beautiful thing. And I know
Do you miss
this.
it? Do you miss it? So speaking of shifts, enough about me.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm just like, the vulnerability of woman is enough. That's enough. I don't want it anymore. Speaking of shifts, so thank you so much for the gift that is TT Baby. That is like the one of the best presents I have received in my lifetime. Um, and you were how old when TT Baby was
I
born?
turned 35 4 days after she was born.
Okay, so you lived 35 single years in that lifestyle before then all of a sudden, boom, and now she's 6. So that was a big dramatic shift in your life.
Ab
You were outside and then you came inside.
Completely inside, you heard me? But listen, I sure didn't come in willingly. I was kicking and screaming and like, "No, thank you." Because TT Baby was not planned. Amen.
So how did that shift your life?
Um, it was hard, honestly, because I actually launched a business in the spring.
Mhm.
I had a fashion show that sold out, was doing really well. I had a plan, a business plan, and things were looking good for me as an entrepreneur. The fashion show was the launch of the business. I did that in the spring, and things were really looking up for my entrepreneurial world. And the end of the summer, beginning of fall, I found out I was pregnant and I was devastated. Like,
Mm.
not interested, did not want to be, not happy about it. Um,
Which is so funny because I was, like, beside
and I'm
myself with
like, girl,
enthusiasm.
relax. This ain't that.
So I had to, like, temper my enthusiasm while you worked through that process.
Yes, and it took me
Yeah.
a while to work through it. I was depressed.
Mhm.
Um, and then when I started to get to a better place about it, she
Mhm.
was born. She
Yeah.
came 3 months early. So, that was another, I guess, time frame or shift or thing to deal with. She came 3
Yeah.
months early, was in the hospital for 3 months.
Wow.
So then that was another thing. Meanwhile, I'm depressed and my business suffered as a result. Now I got a preemie. Like, so my business just kind of went down to non-existent, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, she came early. We were in the hospital for 3 months. Thankfully she came home healthy. She came home with a G2. The first year of her life was like dramatic, like a million
Mhm.
doctor's appointment. It was exhausting. A lot of times I would show up to doctor's appointments and I honestly didn't know what we were going for. It would just be in my calendar and I'd be like, we here. What are we doing
Wow.
today?
Yeah, it's so funny because you talked about me, starting and running a business with 3 kids, and I'm like, you nursing, managing that baby, uh, you didn't mention it, but, like, eventually your relationship, shifted,
Mhm.
so you're doing this as a single mom and working, doing all of
Full
that. Yeah,
time,
that's
yes.
that's superhero as well, ma'am.
But you know what? What's crazy is that you say that, like when you list those things, it does sound like super badass. But I feel like society or the world, or maybe just in my mind, it's like the norm. That's what quote unquote moms do. Like,
Mm.
it's like second nature. Like, what other choice did I have, or who was gonna do it, or it's just kind of the norm. Sad. That's actually sad.
Wow. And that's the thing. And I wanna pause, like, and sink in or, dig into that kinda depression mode, right, a little
Okay.
bit, because that, I think, is what is real when we are in the middle of some of those unplanned shifts,
Hmm.
right? And I know about it, right? Navigating through, like you said, this transition. I mean, I'm on the healthier side, right, of it. It sounds pretty on paper,
Right.
coming out of a 27-year, marriage and empty nest. I'm not like wife and mom anymore. I relocated. I'm living, by myself for the first time in 30 years. Sounds real glorious. And it's also lonely and
Hmm.
isolating, right? And so you can get really, you can get in a dark place if you're not careful. And you, like with this helpless infant that you don't know whether they're going to live or die, all of this responsibility, like you're literally sustaining that little thing's life,
Yep.
right? And everybody's got an opinion and you weren't sure you even wanted it to begin
And
with.
not
And it's like,
exactly. And then not only that, not even to talk about the PTSD I had from the NICU monitors and how all of those noises would
oh,
be in my dreams, going through
yeah,
postpartum, but not really realizing or recognizing or having time to feel it and work through postpartum because I got to pump. I
yes.
got to get back. I got to,
This is the essence of talking shift, right? Because people feel like they're alone and nobody else gets it. This is why I want to have these conversations because we talk about or we see on social media the glitz and the
Mm-hmm.
glam, but we don't often have a safe space where we can talk about the real part, the backside of the
Right.
shift. And that part is just as real and just as common, but it's not always easy or common to talk about. And I want to make it the uncommon common because it is common, but it's just like we act like it's not.
Yep.
And it
It
is.
very
Like
much so is real.
people get divorced, long term, short term. Like I was married long enough for like 3 marriages, the way marriages are happening
No,
now.
no,
Like it
literally.
happens. The good ones, the glorious ones, the bad one, like it happens. And so that's why I have been committed to talking about it even in the process. Cuz who does it? We can't Most people don't do it, can't do it. I am blessed that I am an entrepreneur. I don't have a corporate job I gotta worry about. I'm religiously free. Like, I'm gonna talk about it. So, welcome to Talking Shift, the podcast.
We're glad you made it.
Likewise, my sister, likewise. I think we need to do a part 2 with you.
Hey, okay, so that's fair because we did what was what were two shifts for you, for me. I did a past and a
Exactly.
present. So we only did my past today, but honey, I got a present that y'all need to know about.
Oh, excellent. All right, perfect. Part 2 of a very fun series I am having with my baby sister, Bridgett Deana. How do you feel about baby sisters? A little sister, baby sister?
I think sister will is
I want to
sufficient.
do whichever one you hate the most. That's the one I'm looking for.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm so sure of that.
I want
So yeah, let's just go with sister.
You've been listening to Talking Shift, the podcast, with your host, Marissa Q. Payne. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, like or subscribe for future episodes, and leave us a review. Talking Shift is a trademark production of Marissa Q. Payne International, your source for coaching and consulting when you need a major shift in life or leadership. For more information, visit marissaqpayne.com or follow us in social spaces at Marissa Q. Payne.